blessings. My name is Jere B. I am the EntreMusician, and so are you. Hey, you know, if there's one thing that we don't do here at the EntreMusician is we don't use this platform as a means of personal rants for me personally, or with regard to my faith or my political persuasion or any of those personal things. We try to keep this platform relevant for all EntreMusicians as a means of helping each other learn and grow together. I share my heart based on what I've experienced as a musician, a working musician, from a songwriter's perspective, things I've done in publishing, working with other artists as a producer, etc. And so, you know, obviously I share my mistakes, I share my experiences, I share things that I live and learn as being an EntreMusician, in the hopes that it absolutely helps you. But there's been something that has happened in the past 72 hours which prompted me to go ahead and shoot this video as a means of being an open dialogue. So I'm going to kind of wax a little bit personal here, as well as share my heart. And I hope that it prompts you to below make comments and add your 3 or 4 cents on this. I'm having a very healthy conversation on LinkedIn presently at this time, as well as some feedback and whatnot on Facebook. So I figured I'd make the make this video with the context of bringing a broader viewpoint to this conversation, because I've read some articles that have absolutely tripped me out again, and I've done some further work on it, and that is with regard to the streaming issues. If you follow me at all, even though I try not to get very personal about it, you would know, if you've watched more than 4 videos, that I'm not a huge fan of the streaming services from the entrepreneurial perspective. Being an EntreMusician on the receiving end of it, I've always felt that the service is totally biased toward the musician making money. And I've talked to and interviewed, and you can go back and see them, musicians whom I love and respect, musicians who have a far greater platform than I do and stream and have more traction on the streaming services than I do. And most all of them have made the statement, and you can go back and watch the videos, that, well, this is just the way it is. It's just another means of promotion. It's just another means of us getting our music out here. And while that may be true, all of those musicians and even some others would not go to the stage unless they were paid. I mean, I've talked to you on this platform about the early days of my band Sound Doctrine doing promotional gigs. We did the promotional gigs to try to gain some visibility, and in many of those instances we got took because the promoter would say, yeah, come and do this, there's going to be a certain amount of people here, and we would go and play 45 minutes. Sometimes we would play 90 minutes. We'd do a full 90-minute set, and then that's like, thank you very much. And the next time that event rolled around, they were on to the next band who did it, you know, because they told them the same story. And we're like, yo, we didn't even get paid. We did the promotion because you promised us a comeback, and we wouldn't get the comeback for the cash. So anyway, I don't want to digress. What has happened is, in the last 72 hours, there's been this article on Variety, and I'll put this and the other articles that I mentioned in the description box. But it says, and I'll read the headline and maybe the first paragraph, because I don't like watching those videos where they read to you. I will send you the links, give you the links, and you can read it for yourself. But it says from Variety, and the writers are of this article, Jim Aswad and Chris Willman, Spotify, Google, Pandora, Amazon go to U.S. appeals court to overturn royalty increase. Now, ain't that a kick in the butt? So what it says here is Spotify, first paragraph, Google, Pandora, and Amazon. Spotify, Google, Pandora, and Amazon have teamed up to appeal a controversial ruling by the U.S. Copyright Board that, if it goes through, would increase payouts to songwriters by 44%. Okay, so their statement, and again, you can read it, the statement of the big four that I named, says that it recently issued this U.S. mechanical statutory rate in a manner that raises serious procedural and substantive concerns. If left to stand, the CRB, which is the Copyright Royalty Board, decisions harm both music licensees and copyright owners. I mean, copyright owners, they might as well say publisher. So it's tilted in the wrong way, where you as a songwriter, there are some instances that there are songwriters like myself who are also publishers. So some of my catalog I own absolutely outright, especially the stuff that we've put on CD and that have been sold. But then there's music also that is licensed that you work with another publisher to get your material in the various multimedia outlets that it can go to. So you kind of sign your publishers away. So the publishers are making money. Okay, the licensees, hear that, licensees are not the content creators slash songwriter. So yes, it really does harm them, and it takes money out of their pocket, which I think is absolutely absurd. Now, I've said this in a video, I can't even remember where I said it before. I've certainly said it on numerous radio interviews on different stations and podcasts that I've been a guest on. And the only analogy that I think works, I have several, but this one I think works, and I want to hear what you have to say about it, is this. If you are a car manufacturer, I'm going to make a car. Okay, now we know Tesla is like the new car manufacturer. There's many things and many components that makes a car a car. There's a transmission, there's tires, of course, there's windows and doors and windshield washers and all kinds of things going on in the engine that I don't have a clue about. But there's headlights and all of these things. But you know, primarily, if you were just going to say, I'm a car manufacturer, I'm going to make a car, and I'm going to work with these tire manufacturers to supply tires for my car, then that's what's going to make the car go. Of course, you got a transmission. I get it. But what I'm saying is, just to keep it simple, I want to work with these tire manufacturers because that's going to complete the car. Because if the car sits there, I don't care how great the transmission is, how great the engine is, and all of these other components, if it doesn't have tires on it, it's not going to be able to go anywhere. So the tires in this regard, or the tire manufacturers, are the content creators, the songwriters. The car in this analogy would be the streaming service. How is it that you're going to steal the tires, to put the tires on the car to make it go? I want the tires. I need the tires. In fact, my entire business model is based upon the content creators, but I'm not going to pay them, or I'm going to pay them so little that I can post billions of dollars a quarter, which you can go and Google any of that. Spotify, Pandora, they post billions with a B of dollars a quarter to satisfy their shareholders, but the songwriters, because if there's no song, there's no Spotify. If there's no song, there's no Pandora, there's no Google, there's no Amazon, there's no streaming service whatsoever. But, the songwriters should take it in the teeth. And that's basically what's going on. So here you have the MMA, and I'm trying to keep this video as short as possible, but the Music Modernization Act, in fact, we had Lawrence Smith on from musicreports.com. Go back and check out that interview. Very good interview. And Lawrence is going to be coming back on consistently as sort of our quote-unquote copyright guru, and we have questions about licensings and copyrights and whatnot. He's agreed to be the dude. But go back and watch that video, and he was talking about this increase in payment and this copyright board and the U.S. Supreme Court making certain statements about songwriters being able to get more for their income. I've also watched a video of Steven Tyler on the Joe Rogan show, and I've watched Smokey Robinson, and I'll put those links down in the description box. Smokey Robinson testifying before Congress concerning the passing of the Music Modernization Act. I can't say that fast, but the MMA. So with respect to that, Smokey Robinson, for crying out loud, a legend, an icon, having to go back and say, hey, here are components that need to be fixed for songwriters. He's one of the greatest songwriters of our generation and my mom's generation before us. And here he is having to testify before Congress because the streaming digital music services don't want to do the right thing and pay. And this board says they need an increase of 44%, which is a step in the right direction. I'm going to try not to use the words fair or equity or anything, because that may mean one thing to one songwriter and one thing to another. Certainly, I'm no Smokey Robinson, but I would say that if they're willing to raise, the increase of what we receive by 44%, that's a great step in the right direction. And here you have Spotify, here you have Amazon, here you have Google, here you have Pandora saying no. We're going to appeal that decision. Now, what does that say to you? How important do you feel now? There was this thing called the 1955 Montgomery bus boycott. Do you guys remember that? And we can use the analogy, and I don't want to wax this thing into the ground, but we can use the analogy that the bus system is the streaming system. Right? And in that context, those African Americans who were pushed to the back of the bus were the songwriters. Okay? I blogged about that in February. In fact, I'll just go ahead and put that link in there too so you can read it and I won't have to wax all day long about it here. But what those people from the black perspective back in 1955 decided to do was they decided to get off the bus. If we get off the bus, if we walk to work, it's going to be harder, it's going to be longer, it's a slower process for us getting to our destination, but we're going to get there because we're not going to be taken advantage of. Can you dig it? But here we have certain musicians, songwriters who say, well, that's just the way it is because it's promotion and that's how we get it out. And for the end user, absolutely, $9.99 a month is a blessing. Come on, I can buy your CD for $9.99, or I can have a la carte for $9.99. It is absolutely a no-brainer. But from the standpoint of the CEOs and those who run these streaming services to say, you know what, we need those tires. We need to make our car go. We want to make sure that the tire manufacturers are happy. Okay? They're making better tires. They're making more durable tires for us, so we can make this car go. And it's an actual partnership, but they don't believe in partnership. And as I said before, I hope I said it before because I've been ranting now, but at the beginning of this video is the fact that some of the musicians and EntreMusicians that I've talked to would not go on stage, would not take their guitar, their saxophone, their keyboard on stage unless they were paid. What's the difference? You're putting your music out there. You've spent time in the studio. You've mixed it, mastered it, and got it up to crush and paid hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to make it sound as good as it can. And then you've handed it over to someone who, when you can get a better royalty rate, says, we don't want it. We're digging the system the way it is, lining our pockets and screwing you. So what do you think? Let's really have a conversation about this. Let's really talk about what's going on. Again, I'm a nobody. I've got a few songs that have done a couple things. Praise God. I'm grateful for it. But I believe that He has called me to also be a good steward of what He's entrusted to me. And that means make as much income from that offering as absolutely possible. And if it's not working, then take it away from the slave master who is keeping my songs captive. And so, you know, that's why you don't see Sound Doctrine on Spotify. You don't see Sound Doctrine on Pandora. There are a couple things that I've produced for other artists, and I don't make that choice for them. So you may see produced by Jere B some things that are on Spotify or some things that are on Pandora, but that's that artist's choice. Did I say that right? That's that artist's choice as to whether or not he or she wants their stuff on those services. But as far as the music that I control, why give it to them? I started playing the game, and I know I said this in a video before. I started playing that game, and Donna Biscardi, who's my business manager, is looking out these royalty statements, and she's going, what is this? 0.0007, 0.007, all these different songs. What is this? She says, I'm not counting that. You know, I get a royalty check from CD Baby in the amount of $10.99 every other month, you know, for songs, and you look at them and you see the times, how long they've, or how often I should say, they have been streamed, and you would go, you know, that's ridiculous that you would get $10.99 for all of these songs, which have done it. But that's just the way of the world. There are a couple other articles that I want to post. That was the Variety article, but there's also an article by Medium, which I just discovered today. This is one of the reasons why I ran over here to make this video. And that gentleman calls himself Sharky Laguana. You may need the Medium app in order to read that article, but I will put the link there. And he's looking at it from both sides, the end user side, and he's telling the end user in his article why they should boycott these streaming services and what they can do really to, I'll just say it on this video, to kind of jack the system, because the system is jacked. So jack the system in favor of the artist. And he has some very, it's a long article, but he has some very unique perspectives on that. And then finally, January 3rd, and I blogged about this. This was the one on the Montgomery bus boycott, but I kind of took that analogy, that idea from an article I read in Downbeat magazine from Alan Scherstall. I hope I haven't mispronounced that name, but you know, he chronicled 4 or 5 different musicians, particularly jazz musicians, who don't use streaming services at all, who are setting up their own systems to get to their fans, and it's a longer, slower, harder process, but they're saying, I'm not going to get raped for my music. This is the way that I'm going to do it. Now, again, at some point, it's time to stand up and go, you know, enough's enough, man. Enough's enough. Enough's enough. We are songwriters. We are the content creators. It's our music. We want to give joy to people. We want people to feel a certain way, to feel an experience, to experience something magical and wonderful and great when they hear our music. We want to take them somewhere, but we should be compensated for taking them there. Can you dig it? My name is Jere B. I am the EntreMusician, and so are you. We will see you next time. Peace and blessings.